Parked in the driveway, I gave one more look to the house I grew up in. One of my friends once called it the House of Horrors. My 5 brothers and I decided that we've had enough of my parents' controlling behavior. It started when I was only a little girl. My dad would make us stand on one leg reciting full pages from our school books. If we made only one mistake, he would yell and scream at us for hours on end, sometimes even letting us go to bed hungry. My oldest brother, EJ, would always promise us, one day I'm going to save up enough.
There are 2,700 robocalls made every second in the U.S. You might have been
enough money to get us all out of here. And finally, that day has come. EJ bought a big caravan with money he had saved up over the years working in a local convenience store. All 6 of us could fit comfortably in it. My youngest brother was still in the house. My parents, as usual, laid passed out on the couch. EJ yelled from behind the steering wheel, "Hurry up, before they wake up!" Tom rushed out of the house. Just as he was about to put his last bags in the caravan, my parents came running out of the front door. "Where the hell are you going?" screamed my mom. My dad came rushing towards us with his fists in the air. "We will find you. You can't hide from us," yelled my dad. My youngest brother was too slow, and my mom got a hold of him and pulled him down to the ground. We were always so scared of my parents, but not on that day. The rest of us jumped out of the caravan and shoved my mom off of my little brother. For the first time in their life, my parents looked defeated. My mom let go of Tom. We all got into the caravan and EJ started to drive away. My parents were yelling and screaming, waving their fists. All 6 of us started laughing with relief and actual pure joy. What shall we do and where shall we go? The world was open to us. I was the second youngest, so I didn't really have a say, but I loved spending time with all of them and trusted my brothers with all my heart. We decided to drive through the night. 2 of my brothers took turns driving while the rest of us slept. My brothers weren't the neatest of beings, and all of them can snore really loud. I couldn't fall asleep because it sounded as if the caravan's roof might just lift up from their snoring. I looked at the stars through the caravan window. A family in a smaller brown caravan was driving next to us. In the back, also looking at the stars, was the most beautiful boy I've ever seen. He had dark hair, soft eyes, and a strong jawline. He saw that I was staring at him. I tried to pretend not to see him, but I blushed bright red. He smiled and waved at me. I shyly waved back. He took out a blank piece of paper and started writing something on it. He lifted it and it read, "I like your smile." At that moment, one of my older brothers closed the window curtain in front of my face. "No boys until you're 18, he said, and went back to bed. When I opened the curtain again, he was gone. The next day, we drove cross-country, passing farms with animals.
Having dry skin is a struggle. Turns out, my body wash was the problem. But with Olay Ultra Moisture Body Wash, my skin went from dry and dull to visibly healthy in just 14 days. Better skin from a body wash? You bet.
Animals, beautiful grasslands, and some rivers. EJ suggested that we stayed the night at a caravan park. We parked the caravan and started wandering around the park. I couldn't believe it. Parked in one of the stands was the brown caravan. "Hey you," said a soft voice behind me. It was the boy from the road. "Seems like you're following me," he said. "Hey, my name is Mindy," I giggled. We started to chat. We had so much in common. I felt butterflies in my stomach. After talking for only a few minutes, my older brother called me from across the caravan park. "I have to go, sorry," I said. The boy whispered, "Meet me at the river's edge at 12 p.m. tonight." I nodded. That night, I waited for all my brothers to snore, and then I snuck out of the caravan. I couldn't wait to see him again. He was standing next to the river's edge under a big oak tree, looking more handsome than before. In his hand was a wildflower. He gave it to me and basically started proclaiming his love to me. We kissed in the moonlight. It was an instant connection. His name was Jack. Jack took out a knife from his pocket and carved our initials into the oak tree's trunk, J and M. The sun was already rising, and I had to go back to the caravan. I thought my brothers would be livid that I wandered around at night, but instead, I walked into another kind of war zone. "Where's Tom? I looked for him all over the caravan park. Mindy, did you see Tom? Was he with you?" Everybody was going crazy. No, he wasn't with me. Was Tom really missing? I've never seen EJ so worried. He said, "Everybody, split up. Come back here in an hour." The 5 of us split up. We looked everywhere, asked at reception, down by the river, in the bathrooms, and even deep into the surrounding woods. But we couldn't find him. We yelled and asked everyone. Jack even helped phoning the local police, but they said they can't help us since it hasn't been 48 hours since he is gone. EJ said, "We can't rely on authorities. We'll figure it out. We always do." We got in the caravan and started looking for Tom, driving on gravel roads, steep roads, and deserted roads, all situated around the caravan park. But nothing. It was getting dark. EJ suggested that we go back to the caravan park in hopes that Tom would have pitched up there. We drove for hours on a gravel road, but we were completely lost. We ended up on a sandy road with no streetlights or pit stops to be found. EJ couldn't find the way back to the caravan park, and now it was in the middle of the night. Next to the sandy road was an open area, and we parked the caravan there. We would continue searching in the morning. We were so tired, all 5 of us passed out. I woke up the next morning to one of my brother's screams. "Where the hell are we?" When we looked out of the caravan's window, we were surrounded by a desert. Yellow sand stretched out on all sides. We were completely lost. My parents never allowed us to have mobile phones, so we couldn't phone for help. We didn't even have a map. All 5 of us ran out of the caravan. We soon realized that the road we drove on the previous night was gone. The wind must have blown the soft sand over the last remains of the tracks. There was no way we could tell which direction to go. I fell down to my knees and started sobbing. Tom is missing, we're lost, and I'll never see Jack again. My brothers tried to console me, saying that everything would be okay. Luckily, we had an extra tank of fuel in the caravan and some canned food. We had breakfast and started to drive in one direction. It was so hot. The caravan struggled in the soft sand, but thankfully we didn't get stuck. We passed sand dunes and even a few dry bushes and trees, but no sign of people anywhere. Luckily, we eventually reached a gravel road. We drove the whole day. There was nothing in sight. Finally, the desert started to turn into grasslands. By nightfall, we still haven't found any sign of civilization. We stopped the caravan for the night. Before sunrise, I could hear EJ starting the engine of the caravan. "Guys, I just added the last bit of fuel. We need to find something, soon." After hours of driving, EJ finally spotted a cabin in the distance. "Woohoo!" he yelled in ecstasy. We hoped that there would be people in the cabin that could help us. We knocked on the door. "Hello? Anyone home?" But there was no one. As we entered the cabin, I got a really weird feeling. On the walls were pictures of children, all of different ages and races. There were toys scattered around the home. It didn't seem like anyone had lived here for quite some time. Everything was dusty and dirty. Of course, my brothers were looking for food in the kitchen. There wasn't any food, but there were bags of candy, chips, soda, and chocolates. "This was probably like an old toy museum or something," said one of my brothers. "More like a house with freaks," said the other. It seemed like we could help ourselves to as much candy as we wanted, and we did. My brothers completely indulged themselves in chocolates, candy, and jelly beans. While stuffing our faces, we started driving again. About 3 hours later, the caravan ran out of fuel. "Oh no!" yelled EJ. It stopped in the middle of the gravel road. We were completely stranded and didn't know where we were. For 5 days, we lived in the caravan, eating candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We were miserable. My brothers started fighting. We thought of walking, but we didn't want to leave the caravan. It was our home. Thoughts of Tom made us feel sad. Was he also lost? Was he thinking of us? Then, on the 5th day, a miracle happened. A small brown caravan came driving from afar. It was Jack and his family. They stopped and gave us water. I jumped up and gave Jack a big hug. I probably smelled really bad since I haven't showered in a week. His parents offered to give us a ride to the nearest town. They knew the area pretty well. We all got into their caravan. My 4 brothers and I sat close together. We were too big for their small caravan. For some reason, Jack's parents drove back on the road that they came from. which was also the direction of the cabin. But Jack's dad said, "You just missed the town. It's close by." We didn't think anything of it until Jack's dad stopped the caravan next to the cabin. "What are we doing here?" asked EJ. "This is our holiday home," said Jack's dad. "We'll stay here for the night and continue tomorrow." "Follow us," said Jack. We got out and followed them back into the cabin. Until this day, I don't know why we just followed them without asking any questions. But we were tired, hungry, and weren't thinking clearly. As we walked back into the cabin, it wasn't as dirty as it was before. The photos were taken off the walls, and in the kitchen was full of food. The house seemed normal. Even if it was in the middle of nowhere, it seemed like any old family home. Jack's mom made us a delicious dinner. After dinner, we could take a shower. She made beds for us on the living room floor. I was too tired to talk to Jack and fell asleep. At 3 a.m., someone shook my shoulder. Mindy, we gotta get out of here." I opened my eyes. It was still very dark. I couldn't quite see who it was. "Huh?" I mumbled in confusion. "Mindy, let's go!" My brothers started waking up. One of them screamed, "Tom, is that you?" It was Tom. He was safe. The living room lights went on, and Jack's dad was standing in the door. "How the hell did you get out, little boy?" Tom looked really frail and frightened. He screamed, "Run, everybody, run!" Jack's parents were kidnappers. EJ pushed Jack's dad. He fell to the floor. Jack and his mom appeared in the doorway. "You aren't going anywhere," they yelled. But we weren't going to back down. Myself and my 5 brothers fought them off and made a run for it. We got into their brown caravan. Luckily, the key was still in the ignition, and drove off as fast as we could. We kept looking behind us, wondering if Jack and his parents would catch up with us. We didn't know if they had another car stored somewhere nearby. Eventually, we spotted our caravan down the road. Luckily, there was an extra can of fuel in the brown caravan, so we used it to start the engine of our caravan. We decided to drive in both vehicles. We drove in silence for hours and finally arrived in a small village. We got a map from a local store, filled up all our fuel tanks, and got loads of food. Me and my 5 brothers drove for days on end to get as far away as possible from Jack and his family. We ended up next to the beach in a small fisher's village. There were permanent caravan spots where we parked our caravan. We have been living on that spot for 5 years now. Tom never spoke about the few days he went missing. He buried the details deep within himself. As I buried the memory of Jack, I once spotted him and his parents' faces on a police notice board with the heading, "Kidnappers Wanted." But I didn't bother looking into it any further. I wanted to forget about it.
According to TripAdvisor, I have one of the best pizzerias in the country right down the street from me. But I still order from Domino's more than anywhere else. Why? Does Domino's have the best pizza? Debatable, but probably not. So how did they end up as Pizza Today's #1 pizza company of 2018? To answer that question, we first have to answer another. Is Domino's even a pizza company at all?